Tigress Osborne, pronouns she, her, is a fierce activist who has fought for fat liberation and equal rights even before her time representing the world's oldest fat acceptance organization. As a tireless advocate, Tigress has campaigned for policy change, challenged systemic bias against fat bodies, and has always worked towards a more compassionate and inclusive world.
I'm Tigress Osborne, and I'm the chair of NAFA, the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance, which is the world's oldest documented civil rights organization working towards fat rights. NAFA has been around since 1969, and I have been a fat activist since 2008. Before I got involved with NAFA, I was the owner and creator of Full Figure Entertainment in Oakland, California, which threw Full Figure Friday dance club parties in Oakland and San Francisco for many years. And as I was creating this, POC centered, fat positive hip hop party, one of the things I was thinking about, in addition to, where I could wear my short skirts and heels, was also what I could be doing outside of the party that would support other size acceptance causes. I was learning more and more about body positivity, size acceptance, eventually fat liberation, and the real sort of systemic analysis of discrimination against fat people. And as I was learning those things, I wanted to make sure that even though I knew people who were coming to the party did not want to hear a lecture about fat liberation at the party, that in my other opportunities to spread the fat lib good news, that I was using my party's platform to do that. And so through that, I got invited to host a fashion show at the NAFA convention when it was in San Francisco one year. And from there, I became a volunteer for NAFA and became a board member of NAFA, and then eventually became the board chair. And as the board chair, it is an honor and a privilege to be able to take NAFA's very long and very important history and expand on it by helping NAFA to be way more intersectional than we historically were, um, and very, very focused on the passage of fat civil rights laws. So, one of the primary things I'm doing as an activist now is leading NAFA in our participation in the campaign we co founded, which is the Campaign for Size Freedom, which was co founded by NAFA and our friends at FLAIR, the Fat Legal Advocacy, Rights, and Education Project, and is supported by Dove, and which looks at all of the various ways that we can support and advocate for the passing of laws that will outlaw height and weight discrimination. That's really important in terms of accessibility. There are very few places in the country where it is explicitly illegal to discriminate against someone based on their body size. And fat people are not always covered by the existing disability rights laws. And so what that means is accessibility that is specific to fat bodies, to body size, is up to people whether they want to make it a priority or not. Um, I've seen that in my work show up as everything from being a nightclub promoter, trying to find a venue that was, that had bathrooms that were big enough for larger bodies, that had seating for larger bodies, that had parking that didn't require people to have to walk several blocks to get to the club. There were so many challenges when it came to event planning around trying to create accessible spaces for fat people. And as an advocate for fat rights, when I have to go into physical spaces to do that advocacy, I have learned how to research in advance and then advocate in advance to make sure that what I need is there, or that if what I need is not going to be there, that we demand another way to do the advocacy. And so, what I hope for is a future where, with or without legal requirements, um, people are interested in making spaces that are welcoming and safe and accessible to fat and disabled people. And NAFA is going to continue to work towards that. I'm going to continue to work towards that. And I'm really excited to have tools like All Go that help individual fat people and fat business owners and business owners of all sizes figure out how to match up with places that are also committed to that kind of accessibility.
pronouns she, her, is our next trailblazing advocate. She has dedicated her life to dismantling fat phobia and promoting body autonomy. Through her passionate activism, Angel has worked to challenge stereotypes, educate the public about fat bodies, and to create safe spaces to share our fat experiences.
My name is Angel Austin. I am the creator of Sacred Space for Fat Bodies. I also happen to be the advocacy and community leader for ASDA and the a board member on Body Reborn and Me Little Me Foundation's board of directors. I am Black, infinite fat, and disabled, and I've always been moved with empathy and compassion to advocate for other people for whatever reason. That's just my makeup. And I always want to make wrongs right. At some point, I saw a need to kind of do that for myself. Um, and of course, the natural progression was as I did it for myself, I wanted to bring others along on my own liberation journey, um, especially in matters of mental and physical self care. I would say I think that people can identify with my experiences and the needs, the voices that I bring to light for people like myself living at in my particularly specific intersections. I'm not a typical influencer. I don't want to be. I just care deeply for my community, and I think people feel that they can pick up on it, and that they're drawn to it. And I think that's how I became the voice for so many. I get regular feedback about how people are changing the way they think about themselves, about fatness, and making different choices for themselves, advocating for themselves. Another aspect of my work is mutual aid, and I help people pay off their medical and household bills. I share the needs of folks who are food and housing insecure. With Me Little Me, we actually have a virtual food pantry. So that's very impactful. I help make sure people have their needs met in various different tangible ways. And so that work is obviously very impactful. Most of my advocacy work, if not all of it, is focused on people who share most of my intersections. Again, Black and infinite fat, super fat as well. Um, Infinite fats, especially those of us who are Black and other persons of color who are darker skinned, we're generally left out of even fat liberation conversations. And so I work daily to change that by making our needs met, making our needs known rather, and speaking up for us as frequently as possible, in as many places as I'm able to and allowed. So I created Sacred Space for Fat Bodies in the heart of the pandemic. I wasn't going anywhere. A lot of people weren't going anywhere anyway. But I will say that I have been invited since we've reopened, whatever, to events that were fully booked and planned prior to me being invited. And this is problematic because what happens is if I'm not accommodated or can't participate, I'm left out of the situation when it would have been better to be proactive and have someone on the ground or on the staff who lived at my intersections or somewhere at least close and would be able to say that that venue or event was accessible and accommodating to me. Organizations should be should be proactive rather, not reactive in these situations. I think about this so much. I work with ASDA, and we're talking about dreaming, envisioning all the time. So I envision that in a world where what I do, my purpose is it comes to fruition. The fattest folks will not be pitied, trolled, or doxxed, but we will be celebrated and acknowledged, for being who we are. Will not be relegated to in the media to being problems to be fixed or the worst case scenario. We will be seen as viable, attractive, admirable, even desirable. This will affect how we see ourselves and how we advocate for our needs and our desires to be met. Access and accommodation, like I just talked about, in public spaces will be a non issue. We will have a thriving remote gig work culture, will be employed, and we won't have to avoid medical care because of the harm that we see there, that we experience in hospitals and when trying to obtain care. We'll be seen as actual human beings.
The fat liberation movement is an essential and empowering force that promotes equality, self-acceptance, and the dismantling of harmful biases in our society. Through their activism, fat liberation movement advocates inspire us to challenge societal norms, challenge harmful narratives, and create a world where everyone, regardless of their size, can live with dignity and respect. Supporting this movement means championing the rights and well-beings of all individuals, fostering a more compassionate and equitable society for everyone. Thank you to all those who help support this movement.